Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out the range with some really great news. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, the original channel name wasn't the Military Arms channel, it was the Sturmgewehr channel. And that's because the StG44/MP44 is pretty much universally accepted as the first true modern military rifle of the assault rifle type. But there is the Fedorov from the Soviets, but we're not going to get into all that. The StG44 really is the grandfather of modern military rifles. Now, that rifle in the United States is popular mostly out of curiosity, right? People are really interested in the original rifle, but they really haven't been available to most Americans. There's some war production guns that are machine guns, heavily regulated, that came into the country. Those things are wildly expensive and unobtainium. And then you did have a .22 rifle, like you see here. This was made by GSG or imported by GSG. This Chambers .22 long rifle has the heft and feel of an StG44, but it's more or less just a novelty. It's just kind of a fun gun to shoot, not very practical, and it's not even a clone because it's just a simple blowback and things like that. And then we had in 2009 the PTR44, which was manufactured in Germany by a company called SSD and was imported as the PTR44 and sold, but only 200 units made it into the United States before the importation ceased. And that was the end of the 7.92 by 33 millimeter, the original cartridge, being sold as an StG44 in the United States. Just really, really hard to get your hands on. Now, those PTR44s back in 2009 had a value of about $5,000 is what they sold for. And then if you get into StG44s that are fully automatic and things like that, and even the PTRs, because there's only 200 of them, I saw one of those go for $13,000 recently. The machine guns are, gosh, probably in the $40,000 range. I don't even know. So they're really, really hard to find. So the fact that SSD of Germany has now moved all their production to the United States into Kentucky, they brought all their tooling over and everything else, and the company is now called DK Productions, and they're producing it. The original German manufacturers are producing it right here in the United States to get past all those import laws, and they're chambering it, at least in its original offering, in the 7.92 by 33 millimeter Kurz. Guys, that's amazing, and that's what we're going to show you in today's video. Now, the gun that we're going to show you in today's video, as of this recording, is a production gun, but this is one of the first ones off the line. The guns are shipping to distributors across the United States. They'll wind up in gun stores around America. They're going to be expensive. We'll talk about the price, but they're starting to ship. So you will be able to get one if you want to get your hands on one. Now, I know the folks over at Copper Custom ordered a few of them, and again, they're going to be out all over, but they're not shipping just yet. But when they do, you're going to start seeing them popping all over the place. All right, so let's start off shooting the GSG-22. I used this gun in some pictures I used on social media and stuff because it has the look of the StG-44, but it's kind of toyish. It's fun, but yeah. So now I have a real solution, being able to shoot the original cartridge. And this is kind of fun. Fun, but not the same as what I'm about to show you next. A lot of folks ask me, how can I get involved in the firearms business in that particular community? And one of the best ways to do that is to become a gunsmith. Every gunsmith I know is just overbooked with work. It's a very good living. And so if you would like to become a gunsmith, you need to go to a gunsmithing school or become an apprentice for an existing gunsmith. But Modern Gun School is an accredited college that also works with veterans in the GI Bill, where you can go and get a degree from accredited college in gunsmithing and then go out and start your own gunsmithing business, which I think is a really great option. Again, throughout my entire life, gunsmiths have always been able to earn a really good living, assuming they have a really strong work ethic. So please check out Modern Gun School. I do have a link in the video description below. So here it is, guys, the DK Productions StG44 clone. This rifle is made pretty much identically to how the original StG44 was manufactured. Extensive use of sheet metal, castings, wood furniture. This gun operates just like the original. The biggest difference is it's not a fully automatic rifle, so you don't have select fire capability, but they've included features on the gun so it still looks like it would have that functionality, but it's just not there for obvious reasons. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. So now, as I mentioned, this one does chamber the original 7.92 by 33 millimeter Kurz round. And so this thing, when you shoot it, is just an absolute joy to shoot. I've had the pleasure of shooting original World War II production rifles, taking them apart at a World War II reenactment. We'll take the gun apart. I'll show you what it looks like on the inside, all that good stuff here in a few moments. But I want to talk about the 8mm Kurz, first of all. So this cartridge is kind of a dead cartridge because it wasn't really widely adopted outside the StG44. So it's not like it had a bunch of bolt guns made for it or a bunch of other military rifles adopted it. It just kind of petered out. The 7.62x39, which I have one here, obviously, which was inspired, in my opinion, by the 7.92x33. This is a Bernoulli 7.62x39 cartridge manufactured in Russia. This is modern production PPU. So you'll notice that the 7.62x39 is a bit bigger. What the Germans had done is they'd taken the same diameter bullet that was used in the 8mm Mauser and shortened the case significantly to make the first assault rifle cartridge. The whole point of this was to reduce the amount of recoil, increase the amount of ammunition you could put into a magazine, like you see here, and make it more controllable for full automatic fire. That was the concept behind the original assault rifle or Sturmgewehr or storm rifle that the Germans came up with. They wanted a lightweight rifle that was capable of fully automatic fire, semi-automatic fire, that was air-cooled, that fired an intermediate cartridge. And that's what this is. Just like the 5.56, this isn't some sort of a death ray, folks. This is just an intermediate cartridge that is a smaller version of a much more powerful cartridge. And again, the intent there was to increase the number of rounds the soldier could carry, reduce the recoil, and therefore make it a more effective battlefield weapon. And that concept carried over into modern times, right? As long as we're still using gunpowder, brass, copper, and lead, and all that stuff, the intermediate cartridge is pretty much going to dominate on the world stage. Now, we did see the United States government just recently move to the 6.8x51. That's kind of a radical departure. The world's militaries, for the most part, use something like 5.56, 7.62x39, 5.45, stuff like that, with 3.08, 7.62x51 still being popular out there in some circles. So, talk about the rumble strip. That's what that was. The original rifle had a 30-round magazine like you see here. This is made of sheet metal. This is a reproduction of an original magazine. It looks perfect. It says MP44 or StG44, MP44 down here. If you take a look at the gun itself, move some of the ammunition, and we're going to show you guys how the 7.92x33 stacks up to the 7.62x39 in this video in terms of velocity. It's going to be really interesting to compare those two, but we'll get to that here in a moment. All right, so if you take a look at the gun, again, beautiful wood furniture here, stampings, the original port cover. Here you can see the sight tower on the rear, sheet metal handguards, cast gas block up here, cast front sight base, the hooded front sight, and then the threaded barrel out here. If you take a look at the side of the gun, they have marked it MP44, and that's a cool story. So you hear these guns referred to as both the MP44 and the StG44. The MP44 would be the same designation that was given to the MP38, like you see here. And in English, that translates to machine pistol. And why is that? Why would a rifle cartridge be called an MP or a machine pistol? And all that stuff. Well, there's a really cool backstory. You can Google it if you want to, but the Cliff Notes version of it is that the German military and the German, Hitler said he didn't want a fully automatic rifle like this. He said, just don't do it, don't waste time and money on it, but he was okay with machine pistols or weapons like the MP38 you see here. And so they developed it, and they called it the MP44, the machine pistol 44, so it wouldn't draw the ire of Hitler. And it was allowed to move forward. They could get it into battlefield situations and then hopefully be able to show their leader that the concept works. Okay, so that's where the MP44 comes from. But the designation StG44 is another common designation that would be used as well. And obviously it doesn't have the MP in it. So this weapon that you see here, we've done a video on it before. This is being made by the same people, DK Productions in Kentucky. They're manufacturing World War II weapons just like the MP44 that you see here and this MP38. Back to the good old StG44. This thing is really, really cool, and we'll just kind of quickly go over the controls on it. So over here you have the ejection port. Has a port cover, little pop closed, very similar, but reversed to what we'd find on the M16, right? When it fires, it pops open, so you can close the port cover and keep the grime and stuff out of the action. If you look back here, we have a push pin. This entire area back here looks very reminiscent of, say, a G3, right, or a Setme. Well, that's because that's pretty much where they got the concept from. So you have a pin back here holding a butt cap on, which is very much like a G3. We have a wood stock, and then you have metal fittings back here. This is where you would put your cleaning kit. Has the cuts in the stock for the sling. Reproduction slings and mag pouches and stuff like that are out there. I'll show them in a later video. I have some on order. And then you have the really thick pistol grip here with the wooden panels on it. Extensive use of sheet metal and stampings. Here we have the rear sight, which is adjustable, just like you would find on rifles of that era, and also be used something very similar on the AK that would come later. On this side of the rifle, you'll see the selector lever here. So this is for safe and fire. And then on the fully automatic one, they have a push button right here. Now this doesn't work, but on the original, you could push it across. One way would be for semi-automatic fire. The other way would be for fully automatic fire. So this would be safe and fire, and then you would select fully automatic or semi-automatic by pushing this little cross pin one way or the other. This is, again, disabled, and it's just strictly semi-automatic, and so the only control that you have to worry about is the selector lever right there. The magazine, this is a big button that drops the magazine out. Now this is a shortened magazine. This is the standard length magazine in the gun. I use the shorter magazine to shoot it off the bench to confirm 0. All right, make sure that's locked in. And so you can see how long that original magazine was. Did want to show you this. Just lay it next to it. Look at how they've done the bakelite on this. You can see the bakelite in the sunlight. And you have the magazine release here. Big button, just like on the StG44. So you can see what the Germans were doing with the manual of arms, right? Charging handle on the left-hand side, charging handle on the left-hand side. It's just really, really kind of cool to see the thought process put into some of these firearms back in that era. Coming forward, we have just a basic sheet metal handguard. Now this is going to get really warm, especially on full auto fire. It's kind of surprising to me they didn't try a wood handguard or something like that, but wood presents problems as well. Wood can catch fire, it swells, it causes all sorts of problems, so they were messing around with sheet metal. But it doesn't do very much for heat shielding if you were to use it in fully automatic fire. Coming out here, we have our little stacking post, if you will, right here, gas block. The end of the barrel is threaded. We'll have to get measurements on this thread. I'm not sure. The manual that we got with the gun is just very basic. It's just printed on 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it's half German, half English, if you will. But we're going to see if that's like 5/8 by 24 or something like that. There's no information so far about suppressing this gun and what that would be like. You do have the plunger here, like on an AK. We'll find out if that's something you would want to do or if it would be detrimental to the operation of the gun. All right, so that's pretty much it. These are going to retail for right around $6,200. So yes, it's a lot of money. 2009, when the guns came in, they were $5,000. So 17 years later, they're up to $6,200. That's about in line with inflation, perhaps a little less than actual inflation since 2009. So I don't want to justify the price. It's just very expensive. It's a collectible. This isn't something you're going to use for self-defense. This isn't something you're going to want to take to a class and do training with. This is a collectible. Reenactors are going to like this. Collectors are going to like this. And people that just want to shoot a piece of history are going to like this. But also keep in mind that the ammunition that we were talking about earlier is very, very hard to find in the United States right now. This is PPU. They do runs of it, limited runs of this ammunition. Once or twice a year. I don't even know how often they do it, but it's not very common. So every once in a while, you'll find some in stock. I was fortunate enough when I found out this thing was coming to Copper Custom that I jumped online and bought 80 rounds of PPU, and I went back to get a couple more boxes. It's gone completely. I can find nothing anywhere on the internet. There is some original German ammunition that's out there, like this. And this will be steel case ammo. You can find this stuff out there, but it's about $2 a round. And it's old, so it may not fire. It's definitely corrosive, steel case stuff, but it's out there and the gun will shoot it, okay? I have a few boxes of the original German ammunition like this. So when we do the next video, we're gonna do a ballistics comparison using some clear ballistics gelatin. We'll be able to compare the 7.92 to the 7.62 by 39. And again, we'll do that in a future video. But right now, this ammunition's very hard to find. I think I paid like $49 for a box of 20. I have 80 rounds. We're not going to do a whole lot of shooting in this video, but we'll do a little bit. We're going to get some ballistics data in terms of velocity. We're going to compare the 7.92 PPU ammunition to a 7.62 by 39, give you an idea of what the ballistics look like. And again, as I already said, in a future video, we'll do some ballistics gel testing. I also have been told by DK Productions that RUAG will be producing the 7.92 by 33 ammunition in the very near future and start to import it, so ammunition will start to come into the country. I also suspect that PPU, now that the Americans are producing guns here in the United States that chamber the 7.92 by 33, they're probably going to ramp up production to meet that demand. At least I hope so. And then maybe if more people start doing guns like this, maybe we'll see a company like PSA start to manufacture ammunition. And why did I invoke the name of PSA? Well, they purchased the rights to the HMG, which we did videos on many years ago, of a rifle that HMG was developing, like the StG44, that would use a G3 trigger group or an HK91 style trigger group. But other than that, it was about an 80% correct clone of the StG44. PSA has purchased the rights to that gun. They're developing their own, and that'll be much more affordably priced than this, but keep in mind, it's not going to be a near perfect copy like this one is, but close enough for the people out there that just want to shoot it. Plus, we also know that's going to be offered definitely in different cartridges, so you'll have it in 300 blackout, 7.62 by 39, the original 8mm Kurz and stuff like that. But the reason I brought up PSA is because hopefully, if they're making the rifle too, and they're mass producing them for a lower price, maybe they'll get in the ammunition game, because the AAC ammunition is out there. They're already doing the steel cased ammo. We got a video coming up on that here really soon for the 7.62 by 39. And so I'm kind of optimistic and hopeful that maybe we'll see even more of this ammunition flow into the country. But anyway, we can only wait and see. Let's do some shooting with this rifle. I know you're anxious to see that. And let's get some ballistics data, tear it apart, look at the insides. There's just so much cool stuff to talk about in this video. Let's get going. It is so cool to be able to play with one of these rifles. This is absolutely crazy cool. Accurate reproductions of the rifle, accurate reproduction of the magazines, being able to actually shoot the 8mm Kurz and play with it and learn more about it. I mean, guys, this is just like a dream come true. This is really, really cool. 2, 4, 6, 8. We'll put 10 rounds into it here really quick. All right. Now, just like the original, this does not lock open on the last shot fired. The rifle is a gas-operated rifle. All right, guys, sorry, kind of broke continuity there. We had this branch hanging down, kind of getting in the way, so I had to move over. So anyway, let's load this gun up and shoot it after loading up the magazine. First of all, though, I want to show you guys how this locking mechanism works. So as I already mentioned, this is a gas-operated rifle. Gas block out here, gas rod comes back here. This is the carrier. That's the bolt right there. And then the bolt, when it's in battery in the locked position, the rear of the bolt drops down into a locking recess, much like an FAL, for example. And so it drops down, and then when the bolt carrier comes rearward under gas pressure, it lifts the rear of that bolt up, goes rearward, goes home, drops back down the locked position. When you see the bolt come back, you can see this little hook come back and grab the bolt. It's going to lift it up. See how it just lifts it up just a little bit right there? That's bringing it out of its locking recess. All right? Very cool operation, very simple. Magazine, 10 rounds loaded. There we go. All right. Got a challenge target down at 100 yards. Guys, it is so smooth. So that begs the question, because this is smoother than AKs that I own. Very smooth shooting rifle. So how does it stack up ballistically to the 7.62 by 39? Is it 7.62 by 39 just as powerful or more powerful? Let's find out. All right, so let's get some ballistics data with the 7.92 by 33 versus the 7.62 by 39. We're gonna use some Bernoulli ammunition here for you guys. We have our Garmin Zero chronograph that uses, I noticed I was moving it around. Uses Doppler radar to track bullet speed. Very accurate little tool. Jason noticed this. I thought this was really cool. So On the full-size magazine, we have MP44 on it. On the little 10-round magazine, or 15, I don't even know how many it holds, we have StG44. Now, I like these little stumpy mags because they're nice for shooting off the bench, which is what I'm going to use here. So we'll load 2 rounds. Again, I'm very limited on how much of this ammo I have. Got the 0 up and running. Got it aimed down range. All right, go ahead and load up the rifle. And see what we get for that first velocity. Make sure she's on fire. So the first round looks like 2187.4. All right. Next round. 2204. All right. So right at 2200 feet per second. Grab my trusty AK. Got 2 rounds of Barnul ammunition. I'll go ahead and end this and send it to my phone. Come on there. All right, and we'll start a new session. Rifle. All right, so now the AK. Now, 124 grain pill on the PPU 792x33. This is a 123 grain bullet on the Barnul 762x39. All right, here we go. $22.85. $22.63. So anywhere between 60 to 80 feet per second more than the 792, which is not that big of a difference, right? So if you take into consideration the size of the bullets, which I showed you here, where are more of those little PPU rounds? Found some. All right. Let me grab a cartridge out of the PPU box here. So here you have the 792x33 next to the 762x39. There's a pretty substantial difference in the cases, the size of the cases. Keep in mind, both these bullets are within a grain of each other, so 123 versus 124, but 124 grain 762x39 is not uncommon either. So we're getting within about 60 to 80 feet per second of a larger cartridge with this little stumpy 792x33. What a cool cartridge. So if we take a look at some of the velocity data, this is from earlier today. So this is going to be the PPU 792x39. Yeah, 792x33. I mistyped that. But that's going to give us, with its 124 grain bullet, that's going to give us about 1,360.8 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. If we go to the 762x39 with its 123 grain bullet, slightly faster velocity, 1423. So again, they're comparably matched given the fact that the 792 is quite a bit stumpier than the 762x39. Very cool cartridge. I can't wait to do more testing with it. All right, let's take this bad boy apart. This is so cool. All right, so we're going to first unload the weapon. You do that by reaching up, grabbing the magazine, pushing on the magazine release button, dropping it out, pulling the bolt to the rear, inspecting the chamber, making sure that the weapon is empty. All right, so now that the weapon is empty, I'm going to go ahead and put her on safe. We have a push pin back here. We're going to take this push pin out, like that. Now over time, this will loosen up with use. The originals that I've handled are very sloppily fit, and that's just because they wear over time. But now I'm going to pull, you know what, I'm going to put it muzzle down here. There's a big recoil spring in here, folks. And I'm going to kind of gently pull this up and off the receiver. Just kind of wiggle it. It's got that huge recoil spring in there, okay? So there's your recoil spring in stock. Go ahead and bring everything back up here. And then this trigger group just hinges down. It'll stay on the gun. All right, hinges right here. Very, very cool setup. Inside there you can see the trigger mechanism. All right, very cool stuff. Now we're going to grab the charging handle, pull the bolt and carrier to the rear. It's just going to slide out. And it's amazing how simple this design is. So there's your bolt. Here's your gas system. Isn't that wild looking? Looks just like the originals. Now, you can see how the bolt sits in here. There's the locking shelf right on the rear there. So that drops down, that's what locks the weapon. And so that draws it up, and then when it comes back, you can see how it pushes the rear of the bolt down into the locking recess, and then as the bolt comes back, it lifts it up out of the locking recess. Such a simple, elegant design. Large extractor. Very, very cool. The front hand guard is just on there, friction fit. You just pull it off, just like the originals. And there you go, guys. That is fully field stripped. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, taking a look at the DK Productions MP44/StG44. Yes, I know you guys are going to be upset about the price. I understand that. They were expensive in 2009 when they came in, and they're going to be expensive in 2024 being manufactured here in the US. But keep in mind, guys, this is a gun built from the ground up. It's a replica of, and as far as I can tell, an almost perfect replica of a gun that hasn't been manufactured for a very, very long time. And so it just by its very nature, it's going to be expensive. Now, on the other side of it, we do know that HMG sold the rights to their rifle to PSA, and PSA tries to keep costs low. So if you can get past a gun that isn't a one-for-one perfect reproduction of the original, that has a few parts that are things like HK91 trigger groups, and it looks 80–90% like the gun, then you'll have that option hopefully going forward as well. But those of you out there that are like me, that really want a real StG44, guys, this is as close as you're ever going to get. No paperwork with the NFA, none of that. It's a semi-automatic, and the quality on it is just outstanding. I mean, this looks perfect. So very cool that they got this on the market. I know that they're working on other firearms. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about those, but as they become available, we'll do videos on them here at the Military Arms channel. Again, there's a lot of cool stuff that the Germans developed during the Second World War, and it's really cool that a company like DK Productions is out there reproducing those historic firearms. If you have any questions, you can ask those questions down below. I do try to stick around for the first couple of days after I post a video to answer any questions you guys may have. If you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms channel so we can continue to bring you content like this, consider becoming part of our Patreon family. There's a link in the video description below. Also, we have Copper Custom. Swing by, check that out. Thank you for 16 years of support, and we'll talk to you guys soon.